Well, good evening and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It is a Talk Town special, and this evening's headline is Town handout Boxing Day knockout to be victorious over Port Vale. Michael, I've already seen your comment. We'll come to that one very shortly, my friend. But Oliver, Merry Christmas. I hope you're very well. And it was great to see you in the flesh on Boxing Day.
I know, it's quite the press box. We saw each other and was like, oh, give us a hello. Bit different from looking at through the screen. But yeah, I've travelled 8,000 miles away, and what a good present Huddersfield Town gave me. So I'm back in Huddersfield for the next few weeks, and then I'll be back down to the islands. But yeah, what a great performance it was, wasn't it? Against Port Vale.
It certainly was, mate. We're going to come on to that in just a moment. But as you mentioned, great to see you over here. I'm going to, at some point, we're going to speak to you about what it's like for you, obviously, watching from afar, being on our podcast, and then being at the games. And obviously, you're going to be there tomorrow. So I'm going to get to see you tomorrow as well. We'll have a good chat tomorrow in person, which is great for me and you. Not all our viewers and stuff get to do that, but we certainly do. So I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow as well, buddy. We are expecting Cal on as well at some point, so hopefully he will join us very shortly. But Oliver, 5-0. 5-0. Who called that? Who called that at the beginning of the game? Now, I was chatting to a couple of the guys from the Port Vale media team, and obviously it's quite apparent what's going on there. And in fact, over the last couple of hours, news has broken that Darren Moore has been relieved of his duties.
Yeah.
Should we act surprised at that? No, probably not. We have seen what he's like, and we were fortunate to see what happened over the weekend. And it's a case of nice guy, but it's not really working with a football. And it's essentially some of the conversations that we've had throughout the season so far. But maybe Town are on a bit of a turning point because, Oliver, it was a 5-star performance.
Yeah, I mean, it's our biggest victory on Boxing Day since 1914. So I managed to bring that stat out there. But yeah, it was an incredible game to go and watch and to actually be there in the press box and watching the game itself. But yeah, I've just heard about Darren Moore being relieved of his duty again. Well, his final game was against his old club. Good luck. I did notice on their press statement though, and it very rarely happens on press statements like that. They gave the opportunity for the manager to say a few words at the end as well. So Darren Moore did say his thanks, but sadly it didn't work out for Port Vale. And you can tell on there it's a results business. Port Vale are, they're struggling for survival in League One. I think there's like 10 points adrift or something. And you could tell watching the game on Boxing Day, they just weren't up for it. There was very few chances. I think Lee Nichols had hardly anything to do, so he earned his he earned some good money there by doing very little because he had not very many challenges on him. But yes, that's obviously always, of course, sad to see someone lose their job. But I think judging from what I've spoken to with the Port Vale fans and obviously what's going on online on Twitter, for example, I think maybe it was the right decision for Port Vale to move on.
Yeah, they were certainly ready for the change. I think there was a very disconnected fan base, disconnected set of players, and a disconnected manager. I know I looked down at my screen at one point, and unfortunately, Darren Moore looked very, very lost and very much on his own. We are going to start talking about the game. Before I do that, I'm going to welcome Cal Scott. Cal, Merry Christmas, my friend. I hope you're very well, and I hope you enjoyed a very good Boxing Day as well, mate.
A very good Boxing Day indeed, absolutely. 5 of the best. You are joining me. I'll be honest, the reason I'm late is because I lost track of time when I was doing the washing up. So,
what a hero you are! Not all heroes wear marigolds, my friend.
They don't.
That's what I've heard anyway. But that's not a problem, mate. I'm glad you're doing your housework and keeping up to that. That is very, very important. Very, very, because if you don't,
it's a difficult thing to master in this bit between, Christmas and New Year. Things can slip, enjoy it, but enjoy it by being disciplined, lads. Yeah.
Exactly.
Wise
Right,
words.
gents. Perfect chance now for us to actually start talking about the game. We've had a hello from Oliver, spoke about him being over here. Carl, you've finished doing your washing up, so we're ready to crack on and get on with it. I've seen comments now coming in from Blue Terrier, Mark, Steve. Thank you very much. We're going to come on to them very, very shortly. Okay, Mark, yours is a good one because we're going to talk about that at some point very shortly. Okay, so this is how Huddersfield Town lined up against Port Vale. Nichols was in goal. We had a back 3/5, of course, with Balker, Lowe, and Wallace that back three, with the two wing backs, Gooch and Rowan. Ledson, Harness, and Castledine were in midfield. Alfie May and Radolovic up top. Obviously, Castledine kind of playing at some parts on the left-hand side a little bit further up, but also being in that midfield as well. He's got a bit of a free roam to the left at the moment, I would say. Oliver, being in the stands, you get a completely different game to what you normally see. Is that how you saw that kind of formation? Is that how you saw Castledine playing?
Well, it worked clearly in the past two games. I mean, he scored the two that we needed. Clearly, but the link-up play in the midfield between particularly Castledine and Bojan were just lethal. Whether Port Vale just couldn't deal with them, especially on that Huddersfield right flank. It just couldn't. The crosses were coming in, the chances were going, but blocked away by their centre defender. It could have been more, to be honest with you. But the link-up play in that midfield with Leah Castledine, and Gooch was obviously in there as well, playing a few balls in. But it was just lethal. But this begs the question. We've had two unchanged lineups since Rotherham. But Port Vale, I noticed it straight from the first 2-3 minutes, they were playing so wide, allowing us to be in the centre. There was no pressure. There was no Leo Castledine on the first goal was unchallenged, went from the centre circle all the way to the box. No challenge at all, slots it past Ben Amos. You know what I mean? So we had that space to play, and it worked out. And it shows, basically, I know they were bottom of the league and they had their issues and Port Vale, blah, blah, blah. But it shows that we can play and we can do well and defeat teams off the park. But yeah, it was a good formation for us.
Yeah, so again, Cal, I'm going to come on to you in a sec with that as well. Oliver, so you think this new formation is kind of working, which is great to know because it's going to lead me on to coming on to Northampton later on when we first actually change to this formation and how we now actually play against Northampton in this new formation weeks on. Cal, line up, you were happy when you saw that? Did you feel as if this is where Town needed to be with the players that are available? Any issues in there that you thought that might not be great today?
No, you know what? I looked at the starting 11 and I thought, yeah, that's what we should be looking at playing against this side at home. That's a strong side that I think the key thing when you look at that side is that it's a side that knows how to do the basics well. That's what a game like that needs, and that's what paid off ultimately in the end. I think we got the basics right. That link-up play that we've talked so often about being off, slightly wayward, it wasn't. We got it right, and the long balls found the right men, and the short passes found the feet that they were looking for, and it all stitched together. And look what we got at the end of it. A brilliant performance and some real standout performers in that. And I think the and you might want to clip this bit up. Credit to Lee Grant, his choices enabled that team to get the best out of each other.
Wow, we're going to have to get Steve back on this one to clip that, Cal. We are certainly going to have to get Steve back for that. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you honestly, I'm genuinely really proud of you for coming up with something positive like that.
It's the season of giving, and I am giving him that.
It certainly is. Cal, I'm going to come back to you on them key performers. I want to know who they are, but I think it's time we go through a couple of these comments. The Sporting Journey, good evening, gents. Good evening, chat. Thank you for joining us. We've had Steve in. He can't make it, He can't be on the pod, but he can put a message in. And of course, he's put his catchphrase in there as well. Good luck on the show, lad. Sorry I can't be with you. You're in safe hands. Port Vale were crap up the town. Blue Terrier, Darren Moore, your football is poo. I think that's what they were singing in the stands, Cal. Decent 5-0 win against a very poor Port Vale team. Awful defending by Vale. Good at beating lower relegation teams. Big test is Lincoln away and teams above us. Mark, the last two performances have shown growth. I think a new formation, a direct approach, but more importantly, a fresh attitude from the players, putting in the hard yards and supporting one another. So yeah, great to have them in there. We've got a couple more comments, so I'm going to read these out, and then we're going to actually start talking about the goals as well. Evening, gentlemen, says Richard. It was a great win on Saturday, and I expect us to beat Northampton too. However, we need to start beating teams towards the top end of the table. Can we do this if Castledine departs? And James says, Castledine situation, obviously the elephant breaking the door out of the room now. Worried Grant couldn't can it on his press conference. Sounds like a real potential to we on our chips, just in case we have anyone, on YouTube, making sure we aren't saying, I can't imagine being that much of an issue. Anyway, but you get my point. Okay, some really good comments in there. Thank you very much for getting them in. Really do appreciate them as always. Let us know what you thought of the goals, etc. We will talk about Castledine a little bit later on, James, seeing as though you brought it up, as well as Richard. And we're going to talk about the formation as well and what we think on that one. Cal's just changing his background. He's getting to a bit more of an easier place for him to join us back on the podcast. We will do in a moment. But Oliver, a couple of comments in there regarding the opposition, and I would have to agree with them. Port Vale were, unfortunately, one of the worst sides I've seen all season and in a long time. And I think that showed from the first goal. Now, let's not take anything away from Castledine, because he's very, very calm. He puts a nice little shimmy in and he places the ball lovely in the back of the net. But if this was the other way around, Oliver, and this were town defending, an opposition player running from the centre circle all the way to inside your area and scoring, that's not good. Is that, again, I'm trying not to take anything away from Castledine, because I think it's a goal and he's taking it very, very well. But is that also a sign of how poor the opposition was?
Yeah, I mean, if Huddersfield did that, I mean, I'm known as the positive one here on this podcast, but even I would find something difficult to find there. But yeah, I mean, from the off, like I say, we're talking about the first goal with the Castledine. No challenge, no one in that midfield to challenge him. He was allowed to get a shot from the centre circle all the way to the box, and then manages to place it behind Amos. Second goal, Ryan Ledson wasn't marked. He was able to get a flick on from Harness. Easy as bread and butter. And then the third goal, I can't remember which. It was the.
Slow down, Oliver. We're going to come to them, Oliver.
I get really excited because we've got a lot of goals to talk about, so I get really excited.
Yeah, but come on, you're rushing on. You're rushing. Let's talk about the first one.
Well, basically, the context I was trying to provide is essentially there were no space, as in there was too much space there for Huddersfield to run into. That's what I was going for, and yeah, that was testament to Port Vale not being as good as they should be. But they are a League One team still, so they can still. We can't take any team for granted, whether it's Northampton, whether it's Lincoln, whether it's Cardiff or whoever. You can't take any team for granted. And when we first started the game, there were murmurs that Port Vale could win that game. And obviously in the first 10 minutes, the game was pretty much Huddersfield's the way forward. But yeah, like I say, Port Vale weren't the best I've seen at all. I don't know what's gone on with them, because they did quite well last season from League Two. But yeah, it was Huddersfield did play really, really well. And the key crucial thing is to add is Huddersfield were allowed to play, and we proved that we are able to beat teams. Whether it's bottom of the league, whether it's top of the league, they're still in League One. They're still a threat to Huddersfield Town. So
Oliver, we're getting a little bit carried away with all the goals, Cal. absolutely understandable. After he's got that carried away, he's having to take his jacket off.
It's warm in here. Whew.
Yeah, I can imagine. I bet that table's going up a couple of inches as well, talking about all them goals. Carl, any comments on that first Castledine goal? And then I want to talk about Ryan Ledson as well after, with you.
It was one of those, wasn't it? I thought as soon as he picked the ball up, this is in this. But it was. This sounds horrible. I'm taking trying to take all the credit away from Huddersfield Town and sort of say that Port Vale were really poor, but you've got to be in the position to score the goal, and we were. And I think we pressed really well to get to that point. I think we moved as a unit, but I also think that their defending has got to be better, and the goalkeeping as well. Similarly, the goal went in sort of at normal pace, and the goalkeeper seemed to move in slow motion. It almost just passed him by, which, it's a lovely little cultured finish, but you've got to be stopping that, and the defence has got to be stopping it from getting to that point.
I think basically what we're saying is that for the first goal, Port Vale were dreadful, but essentially you've got to have that confidence behind you to be able to run from the edge of the centre circle all the way into the opposition's box, put a bit of a shimmy on, and just pass it into the back of the net beautifully. And again, that's not taking anything away from Castledine, because you've got to have the confidence to do that. You've got to have the guts to do that. How many other players have we seen doing that in League One? So I think we've come around there, and I think we've said it very well in both ways, saying that how good it was from Castledine and how poor it was from Port Vale. My next point, Cal, I was so happy for Ryan Ledson getting that goal. Beautiful little flick at the near post from the free kick. And just in his celebration afterwards, it meant a lot to him. And I think there's a lot of people who are 50-50 on him, regardless of what he does. And it's a shame one of the 50-50 people isn't on our show tonight, because I'd have loved to have known what his reaction would have been. But I do think he does quite a lot of stuff that people don't see. Don't get me wrong, I understand where people's frustration come with him, but he is the club captain. And Cal, how big of a goal was that in the context of the game, but also for Ryan Ledson himself?
I think for the man himself, it'll do more for him than it will for his standing with town fans, in terms of his confidence in his ability and almost his ability to be able to command the position that he finds himself in as captain. You've got to be sort of grafting with the rest of them to be able to say, why weren't you doing that, or why have we been second to this ball, whatever. You've got to be in there yourself and doing it, and we always hark back to Hoggy being the one that was like that, and he would get his hands mucky and be that sort of rough and ready player that you need to be in that position. But that's a lovely little cultured little flick, and you can say he was trying to play it across the face of goal to somebody else. I'm saying he meant to do that, and that's always going in. That just a lovely little touch, and it happened maybe yards from my face, and it came across, and I thought, he's not. And then it was in the back of the net, and my reaction wasn't yes, it was almost to go, oh my God, because a player of that size should not be able to do that. I'm sorry, that it almost defies football law, but he did it, and it'll do wonders, I hope, for his confidence. And like you say, you could see how much it meant to him. That's good to see as fans. We want to see that passion and that sort of desire to want to go and be in that position. If you could bottle that feeling, we'd have a very successful football club.
And Oliver, a note from you on Ryan Ledson getting his first Huddersfield Town goal.
I mean, what a first goal to register for the club, eh? A nice little volley black heel into the goal. That's what strikers do, not midfielders. But yeah, anyway, that was a brilliant, good goal for Ryan Edson. And I agree, his celebration at the end, where there's a picture I think the club's media team posted of him looking up to the sky, really it was a big roar, wasn't it? I couldn't hear it from up in the heavens at the press box, but it was a roar from him. And yeah, hopefully pushes him forward and helps his confidence out for future goals in the future. But yeah, pretty good
That's
start.
certainly what I took, Oliver. Is when he looked up into the air, he had his arms out, and he's a big scream of yes. You just know how much you wanted it. And also say that recently, over the last couple of weeks, the set pieces from town, the whippage, the delivery has been really, really dangerous. And I'm just glad to see them reaping the rewards with Ryan Edson getting that one. Okay, third goal, Oliver. It could have nearly been a carbon copy of Castledown's first, but the big man in form, you've got to be in the right place at the right time. And it still takes a bit of controlled shooting, controlled passing, however you want to call it, to put that ball in the back of the net for Radulovic to get Towns third.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is the space that Port Vale gave him. Good save by Amos, and then, like I said, Bojan was in the right place. But there was another, I can't remember who it was, but there was another player just behind him. So there could have been, if he wasn't there, it could have been another person getting in. But again, wasn't marked by Port Vale. But good to get good for Bojan to get another goal to be. Is he still our top scorer now? Still, is he in double figures now? I think Castledown. Oh, it's Castledown in double figures. But yeah, it's still quite. It's good. And then at the stroke of half time to go consecutive games 3-0 up. I mean, it's brilliant on a Boxing Day.
And Cal, that third goal goes in. Bojan scores. Big celebration again. Just before half time. In the stands, what are you thinking there?
I mean, I said exactly what I was thinking at the time. Please, please, please do not take your foot off the gas here. Because we've seen it before, and Port Vale were really poor. But all it needs is one defensive mistake or a slip up at the back, and they're back in the game. Whereas if we kept the intensity, which thankfully we did, if we kept the intensity up, we could have had, at that point, it was clear that we could have scored 4 or 5, maybe even more. And I wanted us to make sure that we did that, and thankfully we did.
So I was thinking, obviously, at half time, it's a case of Town look really comfortable here. And we've kind of seen it before where, as you mentioned, Cal, it might just drop off. But I just felt in the stadium that the atmosphere was never a case of lulling. It was always a case of being on them. But I think what I also saw and what I also felt was the Port Vale fans, the Port Vale players, the manager and the coaching staff. There was that much of a divide between all 4 of them. I never thought Port Vale were even going to get close to Huddersfield Town in that second half, no matter the way Town came out, Cal.
I think for me, something changed, and I'm jumping ahead and out, so I won't say too much on it. But we made a raft of substitutions, and they made a couple of really good substitutions. And I thought they didn't come too close, but they came closer than they had done. And I think, I can't remember his first name. Is it Stockley that they brought on?
Yeah.
And I thought he looked quite dangerous in spells. Given the space and the time, I think he could be quite a dangerous footballer. Thankfully, we nullified enough that he wasn't able to convert, but I thought that was quite a dangerous substitution at the time it was made, because he'd come on with almost just pride to play for at that point, and that's quite a good thing to give a striker. No pressure, and just go out and see if you can get something for yourself. But if we hadn't have gone on to play how we played up until the substitutions, I'd I wouldn't have been worried, but there'd have been something at the back of my mind. When it gets to 4, when it gets to 5, you think, right, well, we've had a good afternoon there, and you know, the Port Vale fans that are rightfully absolutely furious about the way that their players have conducted themselves on that football pitch, and the way that the manager also has, you know, we were having a bit of a laugh in the stands, but how many times might we have been on the other side of a result like that, and other fans on other podcasts would have said the same thing about us. So it's never nice, but when you're on the other side of it, when you're on our side of it, you've got to celebrate it, because how often does a 5-0 home drubbing come round? Not very often.
Yeah, it doesn't, but potentially maybe see more of them in the upcoming future. We've got Di Robinson, which I believe it says, "Evening lads, Jed Robinson watching on his way to Dubai. Goodwin was at the game. Port Vale gave us acres of space, but positive. We now need to kick on." And he also says Harness ran his socks off. I think everybody worked really hard in the game. I thought Harness was on the toes of the defenders a little bit too much. He could have probably had another 5 yards on his own defenders for the majority of the game. But again, we're just, that's just something, a little thing, when again, overall, it was an excellent showing. Okay, so 3 goals at half time. We're thinking, this is the Huddersfield Town that we expect to see. This is the Huddersfield Town we want to see. And then, Cal, 2 absolute pearlers. We scored 3 good goals in the first half and 2 absolute pearlers in the second. And someone asked me which one was my favourite, and I really struggled to actually talk about them, because the Alfie May one, Bojan, lovely crossfield ball, Rowan driving down that left channel, coming in narrow, and a perfect pass to Alfie May, who just beautifully curls it down into that bottom corner. 4-0, game over, everyone's happy.
I remember distinctly watching that the Bojan has the ball and he looks up and I think, no, don't you dare. And he launches this ball and it's such a good ball. We control it well, and from there you think, well, this is a goal. It just had to be. The setup play was so good. That ball from Bojan is so good. I would have been furious if we hadn't have scored at the end of it. But, you know, it's confidence. Goals breeds confidence, breeds things like that. Trying a crossfield ball like that when you're a striker, your bread and butter is not to play long sweeping, switch the play, crossfield balls. But he gives it a go, and by God, does it pay off. You've got to be confident to be able to do that. And a game like that, a result like that, is breeding confidence. We might have slammed some of these players this season, but I think yesterday and Rotherham has done a lot of repairing where repairing has been needed, in terms of confidence and sort of bringing it slightly closer, that chasm that was starting to form between the players, the management, and the stands. You know, the last home game, fans were chanting at Marcus Harness some not very nice things. And, you know, because he'd come over to the South Stand and he'd given it, come on, and you know, fans thinking it's a bit patronising considering the way that the team are playing. Versus Boxing Day, the South Stand's giving it the Harness gives a wave, and he's sort of sheepishly looked over his shoulder and given one. So how quickly some good results can change the morale of the stadium, the players, and hopefully the entire team. It's there for everyone to see.
So, from your perspective, then, Cal, obviously, when you're in the cowshed, Loyal, and I'm a big believer of working hard and performing well will bring the fans behind you. Do you feel as if the players might see that now, and shouldn't just expect the fans to be always behind them necessarily, which again we always are as fans, but they're going to be cheering, they're going to be clapping you, they're going to be singing your name if the performance is there. And I think, again, that showed. Am I right?
It's so much easier to sort of, I was going to say bang that drum, but literally bang that drum. It is so much easier when things are going well on the pitch because everybody's up for it. And so if players feed off the atmosphere, and I think that's probably what helped us not take the foot off the gas and go in for the kill, is they came out for the second half and fans were just as up for it. There wasn't a drop in the atmosphere in the stadium, which has been quite rare at the minute because of the way things have gone. But I don't think that's something new for the players, and it's certainly not something new for Lee Grant because in his first or second home game, he made a comment in a press conference along the lines of, "The fans have given us a good atmosphere today, but we know we have to earn it." Now, if you're saying that 1 or 2 games into the season, you know what the culture's like. You know that it's not going to be given to you on a plate every week. You've got to go out and earn it. So I think the players were aware, but maybe hadn't had the sort of example in front of them to go, this is what it's like when things are good.
This is what it's like when we're working as hard as we know we should be and we're putting the performance in. Wigan, this is what we don't want, and this is how it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Oliver, that fourth goal, what did you make of it? And then I want to talk to you about how you saw that fifth goal, that Bojan flick, and the left footer from Castledown from the stands. And then, Cal, I'm going to have to come to you because you were right behind it, so you got an even better view.
You had a good view. Yeah, I think Cal had a better view than I did. But yeah, the fourth goal, again, good confidence booster for Alfie May to get in there, because I think he was one of the top scorers a couple of years ago, wasn't he, in the league when he was with Charlton. So it's important for a striker to be on the boards there. Again, but Huddersfield were allowed to play, weren't they? Port Vale allowed them to have that confidence to go out and try these, because it was coming. Definitely, there was the pressure. Huddersfield were constantly attacking or peppering shots at Port Vale's line. And as Cal said, maybe they were spurred on by the fans. You could say it was, 50th minute or something, 50 odd minute. Again, Huddersfield pressure straight off the second half. I hardly had time to put my cup of tea down before the goal went in. But yeah, it was a great goal. And like I say, the fifth goal was even better, I would say. But anyway.
Yeah, Oliver, it's a bit of a longer walk now from the last time you were at the stadium for your cup of tea and back to the media room.
Oh, yeah, it's up that.
Yeah.
Well, you can get a lift up there, but anyway, it's still some steps.
Lifts are cheating. Yeah, so the fifth goal rounds it up, makes it the 5-star performance, and depending on your persuasion, potentially the best of the lot.
I would say so, definitely. It was a nice cheeky 1-2, in you go, place in. It was like something from a training field. You know what I mean? It was incredible, I would say, because it was a nice link-up play, which is what Huddersfield have been lacking, for this season, that kind of 1-2 play in the box, in Port Vale's box as well. But I don't think we would get that opportunity with other teams higher up in the league. But I would say, yeah, that was the best result, best goal out of them all.
And Cal, you saw it from behind. Did it look even better?
It did. I'd love to sort of make you feel better and say, no, it was just the same as you. But no, it was superb. Again, another one of those moments where I'm watching it happen and feel myself saying, no, and then the ball's in the back of the net. I'm like, no. But you can tell if you watch the highlights, the sound when the ball goes in is not, it's, if you listen to it, it's a different sound.
The lucky thing is for us, Cal, we get a replay, 2 or 3 of them, so we can appreciate again and again and again.
I almost have to go, did that just happen?
Yeah. And even when I were obviously on comms, not that I'll have many people who are on here watching and listen to my comms, but it flowed so well in the commentary as well. And as the ball went back to Castledown, it just rolled off my tongue and goal. It was just such a great moment for everyone. Now, for me, I'd have loved to have seen Town go and get a couple of more goals, but Carl, probably the sensible decisions, and I think you want to talk about some of the subs, was to rest players that are needed for tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's the right decision to take the players off. What I didn't like, however, was the near immediate drop off when those other players came on away from what we did. Take our foot off the pedal then, and Port Vale did have more of the ball, were able to move it more, and there were more space for them to be able to do so. Now, whether that was an instruction, it's difficult to say, but I felt we did drop off after those substitutions. That's perfectly normal when you disrupt the rhythm of the game in such a way, but it's not like we'd brought on players from the B team. You know, we'd brought on good players, arguably first team players that should be fighting for places. And I was a little bit, and it sounds horrible when you look at a 5-0 scoreline, and I'm saying I'm disappointed. I was slightly disappointed when those subs came on that they weren't able to keep that momentum going.
Do you think that could have been because of the amount of changes that there were, or could that have been instructions just to see the game out?
Possibly. I'd like to think not. I'd like to think it's not instructions to see the game out, because at 5-0 you've seen the game out. You know, at 4-0 you've seen the game out, and you go and get a fifth. So what's stopping us from going and getting more? I'd like to think it isn't that. But then, unfortunately, if it isn't that, that then comes down to individual performances. And maybe that mindset of we're coming on at 5-0, our job is already done before we've even started. So potentially that, yeah, I think maybe. I mean, it's not such a problem because we're 5-0 up, but it would have been nice to see that intensity carry through.
Yeah. So 5-0 up, but Oliver, a big thing that Lee Grant has been after us for some time is a clean sheet. So maybe, again, what we're talking about with Cal there, these players come on, they've got a clean sheet to keep as well. And I think that was very important for the manager.
Yeah, I mean, he said that in one of his post-match interviews, didn't he? That he wanted to keep that clean sheet because Huddersfield, as I said in the last podcast, have been leaking in goals, and we leaked in that last-minute goal against Rotherham, which was, Lee Grant has said it was disappointing not to get that clean sheet. So now they have got it. But it was interesting, though, looking at both managers' post-match press conferences, because Darren Moore, I don't know if you've seen it on Port Vale's Twitter feed, it's currently gone viral or whatever for their media team challenging him. But in terms of what he said is he wanted to stop the rot. So Port Vale made them substitutions to stop the rot, as you say. And then Lee Grant must have made his substitutions to set, as you say, see out the goal and try and see out the game and try and get a clean sheet with a bit of morale boost going into Northampton Town. But I mean, we did have a few chances. I do agree with Cal, though. We definitely put the foot off the gas. We had a chance with Sorosen as he headed the ball over the bar, but we definitely. I think we could have had more there. But anyway, I'm happy with the 5-0.
I also feel as if we could have had more, but again, 5-0. Who cares? It's 5-0 and it's a clean sheet. It's 3 points, a little bit closer to them playoffs. Okay. Comments from Phil. I believe they had to manage the game because of the games ahead. Plus, it seems that some of the players were playing under the weather. It was mentioned that a couple of the players were ill. It wasn't mentioned which players were. But if I have to go from top of my head, I would have said that Harness and Balker probably looked a little bit poorly during the game. But fair play to them. They put their hand up. They said, I want to be there. And Jed and Di say, is Grant's Tuesday classroom starting to work? And is Taylor permanently stuck in the naughty corner? Good question to ask. Okay, gents, we've got about 20 minutes. We've got a couple of games to talk about. So let's start with this point before we go into my next one, because my next one will go lovely into my third one. Castledine. Lots of rumours about who will be leaving Huddersfield Town in January and go into the Championship. Lots of Town fans want Mr. Kevin Nagle to get his wallet out and purchase Castledine. Can't see that happening. The lad's on loan from Chelsea. He is exceeding all expectations of him, and will obviously want an opportunity in a higher league. Cal, what do you make of this kind of situation, if there even is a situation at the moment?
Never fall in love with a lone player. We've learned it time and time and time again. We learned it with Aaron Moy. That ended quite well, actually, to be fair. We learned it with Emile Smith-Rowe. We learned it with Trevor Chalobah. We learned it. I mean, I can keep going, but I'm not going to.
Levi Colwell,
Yeah.
Emile Smith-Rowe, Tino Andrin, Casey Palmer, Izzy Brown. I was a big fan of Kevin Kilban when he came on loan all them years ago. But yeah.
Was Jermaine Beckford on loan, or did we sign him?
It was initially, wasn't it? From
That was weird, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you know what? It was brilliant.
Superb.
Yeah, it was
Pavel
fantastic.
Abbott was good as well when he was
Pavel Abbott, oh, what a player. But yeah, we don't know what the situation is. There's a lot of talk. He's a lad on loan from Chelsea. He's on the books of a Premier League club. He's now showing his worth in League One. As a parent company, you'll be going, right, okay, what's he like in the Championship? We need to see what it's like at the next level.
Yeah. And he should want that as a player as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Oliver, it'd be great for him to stay at Huddersfield Town and see the season out. But where do you think this might happen? What do you think might happen? But by the way, everybody, we are just speculating here and just having a conversation about. We know nothing.
I mean, as you say, it is a bit of a rumor mill. Typical happens where people, when the January transfer window opens, people will be starting to sniff around of who's in form, etc. But as Carl says, you can't fall in love with a lone player. I mean, obviously he plays for Huddersfield, he wears the shirt and he's passionate to play. But at the end of the day, his parent company is Chelsea, and he'll be wanting, as I would, as many people would do, be wanting to better themselves and play in a higher league, higher level. And who knows, Huddersfield could be in the Championship next season. Never say never. So, but exactly, Castledine has found a bit of form at the moment. He's doing very, very well. Hopefully he stays, but again, it's all a bit of a rumour mill just as the January transfer window is about to open. So we do have other players. I mean, Cam Ashaya, I thought he was quite a decent player. But yeah, to match Castledine straight away, I'm not quite sure. But yet, we do have other options. But yeah, the way that he played yesterday and against Rotherham was just, he was definitely a better player.
I think what I would say on it, and I'd say that 90% of the Huddersfield Town fans would agree with this. Hopefully, we've been a very good part of his journey, and would absolutely love to see him play in the Premier League for Chelsea, because at the moment, he absolutely deserves it. But let's just hope he stays with Town to the rest of this season.
I don't think Chelsea have great form in recalling players partway through the loan. I think they would prefer to see through the season at least, because if he's performing at this level now, the better the statistics, the more clubs will come calling for him, the easier the job is for Chelsea in the summer.
But this is the point, though, isn't it? Because Championship clubs might want to start looking to get him on loan, wouldn't it, through January? So that would be he won't be going straight to Chelsea, will he? Hopefully.
No.
Yeah, he would definitely just go straight back out to another club if he was to move anyway. Phil says he reckons that Alfie May was definitely not well on Boxing Day. Okay, gents, I just want to talk about the change of formation, and Carl, I think I'm going to come to you on this one more so because you see it in person, and I think seeing it on a screen and seeing it, and that's no disrespect, Oliver, you've obviously watched the game in person against Boxing Day, but watching it on TV but watching it in person, Carl, the change of formation, what's your take on it? Because this is why I've left it to now, because the first time we did it was against Northampton away, and we're now going to be playing Northampton tomorrow, and more than likely it's going to be in the same kind of formation. So what's your give and take on it at the moment?
I think, as strange as it sounds, it's a formation that works well at home and doesn't maybe work quite so well away. When you're under the cosh, it doesn't work very well. But when you're playing against a side that will give you room to move, room to run, and leave you gaps, it works excellently. Port Vale left gaps as wide as a bus. We were able to exploit them each and every time. And almost every time we went forward, we created a goal chance, a goal, or a set piece opportunity. So brilliant when the sides are not good enough to cope with the press, the width, and the sort of relentlessness of it. Its downfall at Northampton, I thought, was that we were playing away from home. It relies heavily on the players being up for it. And all sorts of things can go into that. But I think it was got the job done sort of performance, but ultimately it lacked in terms of its, I don't know how to put it, lacked in terms of its ferocity, really.
Okay, so what we say? Are you trying to say that it's worked well against poor teams like Rotherham and Port Vale?
Yeah,
Well,
because they are more likely to, in fear of making a mistake, they're more likely to leave the gaps that we can exploit.
but it could be potentially different when we play Lincoln on New Year's Day.
But I would hope that the changes will be made to the formation in order to mitigate the different problems that you'll face playing a Lincoln rather than them that you would play in a Port Vale.
So what would them changes be?
I think for me, the changes would be to shore up in terms of when you're pressing aside, when we're chasing the game, we need to be on the ball a lot faster. You saw against Rotherham, certainly, and against Port Vale in spells, they were allowed to keep the ball almost because we thought they wouldn't be able to do anything with it. And they didn't do anything with it because ultimately they're not good enough to do anything with it at the moment. However, a side like Bradford, a side like Lincoln, they're good enough to do something with it. We have to be able to press as fast as we were pressing when we're 5 goals up.
Okay, Oliver, any comments on that? I'd love to hear that as well, viewers. What do you make of the change of formation? Try to get them in as soon as you can for us. Oliver, obviously you saw it in person Boxing Day. It's a little bit harder to see it on TV from 8,000 miles away.
Yeah.
But anything to add to what Carl's mentioned, and what's your own thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree with Carl. I mean, it's working at the moment for Rotherham and Port Vale, but again, different teams, they're going to find it out quite quickly. Obviously, these teams at the top of the league are going to be watching how Huddersfield play, so Huddersfield have to adapt and change. For example, Northampton are a very, very physical side. I would say similar to Burton Albion, very in-your-face team. Kevin Nolan's he's a very physical player back in the day. Now he's the manager, and he's brought that ethos into his team. Would the system work? I'm not quite sure because, like I say, but yeah, we have to be being able to adapt to different teams. But at the moment, it's working, giving us a bit of confidence boost going into the Northampton game.
So what we're saying is we kind of want to see Town adapt to the situation.
Yeah,
but I think no, it's all right. With that, Oliver, we've got to have players available, and I think would you also say that Lee Grant is, yes, he had to change the formation because things aren't going right, and two, he's had to change it due to injury, and he's now trying to find the best of a bad situation with them injuries, and it's coming out okay.
Yeah, well, that's the whole point. You know, we've got to be adaptable. I don't think there's many teams that have the same team, the same system at the start of the season to the end of the season, is it? So, But yeah, I mean, like I say, eventually people will find it out. You can't just stick with the same system. People will be having video analysts and X, Y, and Z behind the scenes staff, and we've got to adapt to the different styles of play. But at the moment, like I say, it's working. And I would think by now Lee Grant would have 2, 3, 4 systems. Is halfway through the season that is able to adapt and change and utilize in the future.
Yeah, Cal, any thoughts on that?
No, I think 100%. I'm with you in terms of everything that we've sort of said there.
Cool.
But what's coming up? The problem with what's coming up is that it's a spell that presents very different challenges, and it's going to be very interesting to see how, whilst trying to keep consistency, we alter the way that we set up against these sides.
Okay, Mark says, if we keep the same formation, we need to play direct. The players seem to enjoy it, and they're getting better with practice so far. Big test coming up. Phil also says, I think we'll be forced to make changes tomorrow. I'd love to know, Phil, what changes they might be. Carl, can you try and do a bit of mind reading? What do you think them changes might be for Northampton? Oliver's already mentioned that they're going to be physical. Town played this formation against them just a few weeks ago and looked very defensive that game. But maybe the mindset after them few weeks has changed and they're at home. So really, I think we're in a position where Northampton should be fearing Huddersfield Town playing this formation.
Absolutely, especially given their Boxing Day result. I think they will be fearing coming to Huddersfield Town. You know, comparing the two games, you'd be terrified. But you've almost got to think of the games as sort of isolated things at this point, because we are working on this formation and it seems that we are getting better at it as the games go on, and that's breeding confidence, which is good. But all it takes is one poor performance to suck that confidence right away again. So let the momentum build when things are good, and hopefully this will be a real one that you can look at. It's the sort of game that you can look at and go, well, this is the progress that we've made. Look at when we played Northampton last versus when we played them now. This is the progress that we've made, and use that as a barometer then to go on and tweak and change and improve, which I think is what we will do. And again, you've just come off the back of a 5-0 win, you know, a proper drubbing, and the fans will be up for it.
Yeah, the fans will certainly be up for it. Viewers and people who are making comments, I know you're going to be up for it, so I want to know what your predictions are going to be for the next 2 games, so we can go through them at the end of the podcast in a few moments' time. Oliver, it is going to be a really good opportunity here for the coaching staff, the club, the players to go, yes, we've made the change that we needed to do, which was needed, forced, however you want to call it, whether that was whatever. This is a really good chance to compare it tomorrow and see how far.
Sorry, after you.
Yeah, no, just saying, and see how far they've come.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we only played them, was it a month ago or so in the early? But yeah, I mean, like I say, at home, you always have that advantage anyway. As Cam says, we got the fans. Hopefully, there'll be a bit more numbers as well. It was 18,000, I believe, against Port Vale. Hopefully, it'll be higher numbers and make it a sort of a, well, I wouldn't say fortress, but make it a sort of awkward and difficult for Northampton to play. But yeah, like I say, you know, we have to be able to adapt to these to this team. They won't give us the space like Port Vale will, I'm sure. They won't give us the ability to play so easily as Port Vale did. And yeah, like I say, it'll be a new game, a chance to even break into the playoffs just before the new year. So fingers crossed.
So Phil says changes because of recovery time, and I feel he will want his first 11 available for Lincoln, plus hopefully others will be available for him against Northampton. So, Phil, really do appreciate you coming back to me on that one. Do like that interaction with everybody else. Cal, does Phil make a point?
Definitely, yeah, 100%. You've got a really short turnaround between games at this point, and we know what we're like for injury. So I don't think we should be risking that. At the same time, though, I don't think we should be sacrificing. I don't think we should be going into these games with almost a weaker side, because Northampton have shown that they have the capability to cause us real problems. So don't underestimate the fixture, but at the same time, balance your players and workload well enough that we don't pick up any unnecessary injuries going into the new year and going into what is a really, really, really critical January for the season as a whole.
Yeah, it could be an absolutely massive January. And speaking of January, Oliver, you'll like how I've done this one, Cal. The 1st of Jan, the biggest of the days, Lincoln away. And that, again, another area where town can go, well, we beat them a couple of weeks ago in the Cup, but now it's a league game, and there's a bit more involved in this one. Where are we? Whereabouts are we in this tough run of fixtures in Christmas? Where are we with players coming back? If Town get 3 points away at Lincoln, who are they currently second in the league? I should know, I looked earlier. Currently second in the league. The Town fans and Town players and the club go, we're back on it. We're back on it.
No, I mean, obviously it's a big game for Huddersfield against Lincoln, but as we said, there's so many games in that kind of in January, isn't there? So it's a few games for Huddersfield. But like I say, you've got to beat the basics. So Northampton, we've got to focus on that first, then go to Lincoln. But Northampton are a solid League One standard side. They're currently mid-table. I think the 12th, I believe, or something like that. They've been lingering around the mid-table throughout the entire season. Beat them. Lincoln again pushing for the promotional stages. But like I say, in typical Huddersfield fashion, and it's happened so many times, we beat the top of the league, second in the league, and then end up losing to 17th. You know what I mean? It just take one game at a time. If we beat Lincoln, yes, it's a very good victory, but we go again to the next game, and just take one game at a time rather than going, we're back, because that's what happens. We go, oh, we're all back. Get that hope up. We're going to get promoted automatically, and then lose the next 3 games. You know what I mean? It just. But it is important for Huddersfield to start off with Northampton, who are a mid-table team at the moment, and then Lincoln are challenging, which is where Huddersfield, I expect, should be at the end of the season as well.
So Phil says, balance, yes, exactly, agreed. Also, there's a couple 100 seats less for Lincoln. Fans are taking the Lincoln game very seriously. So, Cal, we kind of have an expectation about the Northampton game, which is tomorrow. We all feel like we know what should happen in that game, but we're not going to be coming back on before the Lincoln game, and that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it. Is it massive? Is it as big as I'm making it out to be right now?
In the grand scheme of the season, probably not.
Okay.
But as of where we are right now, it is a really sort of critical test of where we're at, because people are very, very quick to point out that the teams that we've beaten so far have been below us in the division and really quite poor, which is fine and not wrong, but also you're taking a lot away from the performances when you say something like that, because we could have beaten Port Vale 1-0. And you'd have said, yes, well, we had to beat them because they're below us. But we didn't. We beat them 5-0. We've got to be in the position to get to that point. So a good win is a good win no matter who it comes against. We've got to tailor our approach to these games. These will be harder games. But I don't think that they should be taken any less seriously than any other game. For me, I think we should be approaching every game with that mindset, not putting all our eggs into one basket and going, well, if we beat Lincoln, we're going up as champions, and if we don't, then we're staying down for another year in League One.
Phil says it's a momentum game.
Every game's a momentum game.
Yeah,
I agree.
But
Every game.
every game's momentum. But when you're beating somebody in that top 2, that top 6, that's where the fans get the belief from, right?
But we also have to be extremely mindful that we don't go on the other side of that coin where we lose the game and the momentum's sucked entirely out of the fans and the team, and we write the season off.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because we've not done that before, have we?
I've not done that last week.
Yeah, we've not done that. Okay, go on, Oliver.
Well, just to add, I mean, we are saying Lincoln are in this second place, but they're only 1 point in there. Bradford are third. It is quite tight up there. I mean, the top 8, I would say. Then there's a 4-point gap between Luton and Barnsley. So the top 8 are sort of a good caliber of teams, and there seems to be a bit of a divide between them both. But yeah, every game should be taken seriously because, again, if we beat Lincoln drop down to maybe 4th then, and then, you know what I mean? It is quite tight up there. But I just had a look at the fixtures just quickly. We play Lincoln, so second in the table, and then we play Exeter, who are in the relegation zone. So 2 contrasting teams, but again, still should be taken as seriously, equally as serious.
No one wants to go and win this league at the moment, and I think everybody is there for the taking. Okay, prediction time. Mark, I've got yours in. I'm going to come to that in a second. I'm just stalling for a bit more time so I can get some others in there as well. So if you have been commenting this evening, I want to know what your predictions are for the next 2 games. Phil, you've been on it all night. I want to know what yours is. Jed, Di, what's yours? James, if you're still there. Richard, I don't think Steve's listening there anymore. Blue Terrier, Michael, come on. What are your predictions for the next 2 games? 2 big games for Huddersfield Town. Every game's big, of course it is. I'm waiting for them to start coming in. So we're going to go to Mark's first. And he says Huddersfield Town 2, Northampton 0. He also says Lincoln 1, Huddersfield Town 1. Oh, we got Steve listening in as well. He's going Town 3, Northampton 1. Obviously, because we know who that is. That's Stephen Downs. He always says 3-1. And look at that one. There we go. Lincoln 1, Town 3. And let me guess, both sides are going to be crap as well, Steve? Phil says, for me, both games 2-1 Town. So we are going to concede according to Steve and Phil on them ones. Okay, Oliver.
Yeah.
As I'm waiting for anybody else to see if they put theirs in, what is your predictions for the next 2 games?
So we're going to go 2-0 against Northampton. I think that Huddersfield are going to want to get another clean sheet and focus on that. And again, we'll just edge them with 2 goals against Northampton. And Lincoln, for the first time, I'm going to go with, I'm not sure I'm allowed to do, but I'm going to go with a draw, 0-0.
Not too sure about you sitting on the fence there, but in fact, I know what my comment to that would be. I'm just going to say what Steve would say.
Nice.
James says 2 wins now, don't care. Surely we come good. James, let's hope so. And Cal, your predictions, please.
I'm saying 2-0 both games.
2-0 both games. So look, I tell you what, gents, you know what I've really enjoyed about this? Because it's Christmas and it's been a positive podcast. It's been a positive podcast. Yeah, it's been a 5-0 victory. We've got some fans and comments saying, yeah, we're going to win his next 2 games, and I can't wait for it. So thank you very much for both of you being involved tonight. Steve, I know you've been on the chat. Thank you for setting up the stream so we can go live to all our fantastic listeners. You know the score. Like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Comments in there have been absolutely fantastic. Oliver and Carl, I hope you have a fantastic new year. Here's to a good one with Huddersfield Town. And all our listeners, all our viewers, the comments, have a happy new year. And let's hope that Town get another couple of victories until the next time we're on, ready for the new year. When next year, hopefully, Town will be getting themselves back into the Championship. And until then, we shall see.